Welcome, and we're taking you behind the scenes on judging today. So we've got a class ready to have a look at. We've got 3 exhibits here, and the class title is 50 Shades. And looking at them, we've got a really good class here. We've got lots of different designs, we've got different styles. We've got a very traditional one here, an Italian mass in the middle, and then a much more contemporary design on different levels at the end. So 3 very different things to judge together, and we're going to look at them and compare and contrast their particular things that are good and not so good about them, and see which one comes out top. We're going to look as well at how they've been staged. So this design is staged in a very traditional manner with a normal stand coming up and raising the top placement, whereas this bolder, more dramatic one has a more contemporary, simple pot with it. And then we've got one raised on a stand here, so it's giving you space underneath it. So lots of different things to look at. Quite difficult when you're comparing them to go straight away which one's going to win the class. So now we're going to look at the first exhibit, and we're going to look at the 3 different criteria. So firstly, we're going to look at the interpretation of the title. Then we're going to look at artistic merit, which is the actual design, how good a design is it? And then we'll look at practical merit, which is how some of the more sort of creative elements may have been actually done, how well they're achieved. So interpretation wise, this is a great design. 50 Shades, there are so many different colours in here. It really does carry the title very well. Artistic merit, it's a really lovely design. It's very traditional. It's got a lovely light, airy feeling to it, and that's emphasised by the choice of foliage, the fact that there's lots of lovely light colours around the top of the design here, but they're contrasted with some darker shades in the heuchera leaves, and you've got a really nice mixture there, and they're really helping the design and giving it some rhythm throughout. Throws down and round into the lower placement at the base here, where all the colours that are in the top are echoed down in the base, which is really nice balance to it. In terms of practical merit, it's actually very good. The plant material is in all but pristine condition. There's a tiny bit of wilt on a bit of very new Acer foliage here, but that's to be expected at this time of year. So it just a little bit on the practical merit is dropped down on this particular design. Other than that, it's scoring very highly in all the other categories. So now coming on to our second design, a very different feel again here, but looking on the same criteria. So the interpretation here, the 50 shades, yes, they're here. Now it's interesting with all of these, they've used 50 shades of green in effect of plant material, but they could have done lots of different things. There are other interpretations of shades. They could have gone blinds of shades, sunglasses they could have used, paint colours. So if someone was trying to challenge the judge a bit, they could have come up with all sorts of different interpretations. But it's nice that all of these have come up with a different style of using the foliage. So good interpretation of the title. On artistic merit, the design itself, it's lovely and bold. It's right for the style of design it is. The container is lovely, big, bold container, but it's also got some softness in the colouring. There's different nuances of the colour within it, and that colour is carried out really, really well through the plum coloured foliage here, which actually runs right up and through and back round to the back here, which gives it a lovely feeling of rhythm around the design, which is very nice. It's also got this lovely strong gold which carries down through this side. If anything, it's a little bit light on the gold this side, and that combined with the lighter, more delicate foliage here just leaves this side feeling a little bit light. It's a little bit airy for this style of design. So it's just losing out a little bit on the overall design. Then looking at practical merit, things like our rolled up phormium leaves here are beautifully stapled, nice and tidy. That's what we're looking for when we're judging. But there is a little bit of wilting in the foliage. We've got a little Eryngium leaf here is just looking a little bit wilted here, so it's just not quite conditioned enough. So that's a little marked down on its practical merit. And now our third exhibit. Now this is a really interesting one because this class is described as featuring foliage. And that means you've got to give special prominence to foliage, which in NAFAS terms is described as the leaves of plants, the buds before they show colour, or bracts or sepals of a plant without a flower. And actually this one shows all three. So we've got foliage in the design in lots of different places, but then we've got buds here which are unopened, which would normally be bright yellow, but because they're unopened, they're counted as foliage. And we've also got this lovely little euphorbia here, which actually isn't flowers, it's bracts of the flowers here. So it's really important that one of the rules is that the bracts mustn't be given, they mustn't predominate over the other foliage. So it's well done here that they aren't taking over too much, they just add a little highlight to it. So from an interpretation point of view, it's really nice. There's lots of different things, lots of different types of foliage. Artistic merit, this using two different levels for this design is really nice. It gives you lots of space underneath the design. It's nice and airy because of it, and you're able to use lovely lines down the front of the design here to carry your eye round, and then your eye is carried back from the base by some of these stems here. So there's a really nice rhythm running between this. Now, there is just one thing bothering me here. It's actually the succulent down at the base here. Because it's round, it's making a very strong focal point, and that draws your eye to it, and it's just a little bit too large for the size of the rest of the foliage, and it's just distracting a little bit there. But otherwise, the design itself is working really nicely. Practical merit wise, there are a couple of issues here that I've spotted. One is the painting of the stand itself. When you're competing, always make sure your stands are beautifully painted. This one's just got a little bit of smudgy paint on it, so it's not quite perfect. And the slate underneath has some scratches on it. A little bit of oil is a tip with slate. Tiny bit of oil just helps to even the colour up. But otherwise, a lovely design with those lovely different layers on it. So now we've got to compare and contrast the three of them. So now we've got to compare and contrast all those things we were talking about and see which one comes out as the winner. So if we're looking at the interpretation, the first design had really good interpretation, as did the second one, as did the third one. So actually, we're not really able to decide which one of them wins based on just interpretation. So then we go and look at the artistic merit, and there I think we can make some distinction. So our first design, the artistic merit was really good. We really didn't find any faults within that. The only thing I might pick up on is we had the little leaves at here, those very bright, sort of glossy leaves that are just a little bit eye-catching and just drawing your eye into them. But that's the only fault on this one for me, and it's a small fault, it's not a major fault for it. The second one, we had some balance issues here where one side of the design wasn't as strong as the other, and so that means it's slipping down a little bit lower than the first one. So we know that artistic merit wise, the second one isn't as strong as the first one. So now we need to know whether the third one is as good as the second one. So let's have a look again. Artistic merit, we've got lovely different layers here working very well together, but we do have that dominant area down here. So these two both have a fault, and it means that they're running very evenly in terms of artistic merit. So there, we're not able to split those out. So we have the first design is the strongest on artistic merit, and these two are sitting pretty much equal otherwise. Then we go back and look at the practical merit for the three. So in terms of this one, the practical merit was very good. I think you can feel where this one's leading you slightly. We have one tiny bit of damage here, but that's all. So this one's scoring very highly in all three categories, just a little two small errors on it in terms of the slightly bold leaves and the slightly wilted acer here. This one, in terms of practical merit, we had a little bit of wilting on the leaf here, and otherwise just a little bit of balance issues, but that's more about the artistic merit. This one here, we've got some issues with the stand itself and the mechanics just being a little bit damaged. So again, they've both got faults, and that's where it comes in terms of judging, that you have to balance those and decide which of those faults is worse. So is the fault in the design on this one, because this is weaker slightly on the design side, worse than the faults on the mechanics on this one? So we're going to balance those up, and then I'll decide which one wins. So I think if we work backwards in terms of which one comes third, second and first, then you'll be able to see how it works. And I think the fault in this one, in terms of the design, because the design is an important part of how your exhibit works, I think that's a more serious fault than the flaws in the actual staging on this one. So I'm going to give design B third place. Then looking at the other two, this one definitely has faults in the mechanics, and whereas this one has very tiny faults in the plant material. So I'm going to give second place to design C. And of course that means that design A is our winner today, with a beautiful traditional design using lovely recession of plant material, a light airy feel. It really is a delightful design and interprets the title beautifully. So well done, design A.